Welcome to the Krista Escamilla Show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Krista Escamilla Show. I'm so glad that you're spending some time with us, and I hope that wherever you're at in your day, that it's going well for you. We want to thank our sponsors today, Rig ID Workwear, Midland Cap Company, and joincapclub.com. So go check it out if you need some hats. Good stuff there. We also want to thank our guests for being here today. We are so excited to be sitting here with a lifelong Midlander and former MLB player, Mr. Randy Velarde. Thank you, Randy, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We are so excited that you are here to share your story, because I think a lot of people have maybe seen you up on stage giving a keynote or, but they haven't really gotten to hear your story of how you got started. And so we're going to start at the beginning, birth. No, just wherever you want to start in your story. Let's get into it.
You bet. Krista, as I was telling you earlier before we started this, I was born and raised just literally 3 blocks from here. So Mom still lives there, and so I'm very familiar with this area. And
that's exciting. I love that she's still here and right around the corner, and that you're still here in Midland.
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm always questioning, what are you doing in Midland, Texas? They think I moved here. I'm like, no, I don't think I've ever would have moved here. But it's home. It's always been home. My family's still here, and granted, I was born and raised here, so I'm comfortable here. It seems kind of contradictory that all the teams that I played for were big cities, obviously New York, all the towns I was in, but I was never attracted to that. I was an A to B guy. You show me where I'm gonna live. That was my wife's job. And where's the stadium? What's the direct route to get there? And she was the one that ventured off, but I was the one that just showed me how to get to the stadium, and I'll figure out how to get back. And coming back to Midland's always been enjoyable. Like I tell people all the time, it's not the prettiest town, but it's home. And thankfully we have an airport right here, and wherever we want to vacation to, it's just get on it and go.
Right, and you're so right. There's no place like home.
Mm-hmm.
And those big cities, yes, they have some great things, some good restaurants. They have maybe some scenery, but the people here in West Texas are the best. You spent 16 seasons in Major League Baseball, but how did you get there? Did you always love baseball? Was it something that you picked up as a little boy?
Yes, I was pretty much bred into it. My granddad and dad played. Obviously, I didn't get to see them play, but my brother played it, and so through them, through my brother anyway, he was a big role model for me and was a great player. And his career was cut short because he blew out his leg in high school, and it was never the same. So, as I said, it was I guess ingrained in me somehow, in my hereditary nature. That baseball gift was there, and I knew I had the high hand coordination. And I tell people all the time, was it tough? Absolutely, it was tough. But I wanted to be a difference maker. I wanted to be that one that could break those barriers. In this area that we're in here, Krista, there were so many barriers that put up that you can't get past this. So I wanted to be one to prove that wrong. And I was never really a physical nature. I was 155 pounds in high school, but what I had above and beyond everybody else was work ethic, the heart, something that scouts can't see. Mm-hmm. And if you can, convey that to these kids, there's truth in believing what you really want and working for it, because that's something I attribute my career to, was just having that work ethic of proving people wrong.
We call it grit in our house. You've got grit or you don't. What do you think it was that gave you that grit and that work ethic to get you to the success that you achieved?
No question. Through my mom and dad, both worked 2 and 3 jobs a day. And I know because I helped. And my dad worked 40-something years for the city of Midland. And when he'd come home at 4 o'clock, we'd go do yard work. And after that, Friday and Saturday, we cleaned buildings. So seeing that on a daily basis, just how hard they had to work just to put clothes on our back and food on our table, I was given that type of workability. I mean, I loved that part of the game, and I knew when I turned about 35 years of age, Krista, I used to look forward to running, lifting, and all that stuff. And I knew when I got to 35, I was like, oh, we're getting close to retirement. So those last 5 years were really tough.
Just kind of the struggle with the body,
my.
because I mean, it's a physical, sport. It's not like you're out there just, do. I mean, you were giving it your all, 100%. And baseball, I don't know how many games are played in a year, but
162.
A lot. There you go. I knew you would know.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Legacy. You played formerly, it was Lee High School, now Legacy High School.
Yeah.
You played there. Those were your formative years. You then went to Lubbock Christian University, right down the road. Of course, we love it. That's where our girls play golf. Great school. But what was it about LCU that made you go, this is where I want to play in college?
Funny story on that. High school, okay, so I'm all district, MVP of the district, all state. And you would think scholarship offers would be just pouring. I had one scholarship offer, and that was to Ranger Junior College. So I signed that, and so the print-up goes in the paper, and Velarde commits to Ranger Junior College. And Coach Benavides, who was the baseball coach who overtook Coach Johnson's job, saw the write-up, and he's like, what are you doing going to Ranger? I'm like, Coach, nobody else offered me. That's the only chance I've got. He goes, well, I want you to go visit Lubbock Christian. I'm like, where's that? I'm thinking old-time Tech's the only school in Lubbock.
Right, that's the only one you hear about.
Totally naive that, right down the road we've got Lubbock Christian. And we arranged to visit down there and absolutely loved everything about it. Not the fact that it's that close to Midland, but meeting with Coach Hayes, just loved him from the very beginning.
That's awesome.
And he was telling me up front, he goes, listen, Randy, you'll be a freshman. I'll offer you this. But I can't. We're probably going to redshirt you the first year because I've got a senior returning shortstop. I'm like, Coach, I understand that's what you want to do. I said, but feel me out. Give me a chance. And I was the starting shortstop.
Oh, that's awesome. The work ethic prevailed.
It worked out.
I love that. And I think it's a good story because it also goes to show, it really – you may have a plan for yourself, right? But God has a different plan, and it always goes, a different way. You thought you were going Ranger, and also not ever be discouraged, no matter how many offers you're getting, whether it's 1, 2, 10. God's got a plan,
That's
and
right.
He knew that LCU was where you were supposed to be.
Absolutely.
What did you love about your time there?
It paralleled so much about Midland. I was just that small community. Very easily I could have ended up at Tech, and you know how big that campus is. But there was I drew a lot of similarities to that. There was just that close knit, and the fact that we just had great those 4 years I was there. We were never ranked outside the top 10. So that the whole teaching staff, they were all on board with the baseball pro, because that was all we really had. We had basketball. We dabbled 1 year with football, and that only lasted 1 year, but it was just a great community.
Yeah, it really is. So from there, what is the transition to getting picked up? And I believe, where was your first, was it drafted by Chicago White Sox?
Right.
Hey, Wikipedia, thank you. So you were drafted by the Chicago White Sox. How does that happen from Lubbock, Texas, right, to the White Sox?
Totally shocked. As you play 4 years through your career there, you get to meet a lot of scouts, and I never once talked to a Chicago White Sox scout. Okay. Phillies were really big. I really thought I was going to go to Philadelphia, but that, and I'm going to show you my age. How I was notified that I was drafted?
Phone call?
Western Union.
Western
Do you remember
Union.
that?
I do remember Western Union.
A week, Krista, goes by.
Google that. If you are younger than 40, you Google that, what Western Union is. That is great. Western Union told you the Chicago White Sox wants to talk to you.
That was a week after the draft. And I had a better junior year, and I didn't get drafted. Well, a week goes by after the draft, and I call Coach in a panic. I'm like, Coach, you said I was going to be drafted. Well, yeah, Velarde, you just stay. I'm like, it's a week, Coach.
Yeah.
And I mean, like within a day or so, here's Western Union. You're drafted by the 19th round by the White Sox, and I'll never forget this, Krista. We show up, and every organization has a minor league director, and they all put all the new draftees. We're in Niagara Falls, New York, and he sits us all down. He goes, there's 25 of us there, and he raises 4 fingers up. He says, 4% of first-round picks will make it to one day in the big leagues. And that went in one ear and right out the other. I've always, I thank God that I've always had that attitude of the glass half full,
yes,
not empty. And I look back, and myself and one other kid made to the big leagues. And then he said this. He goes, and if you're one of those 4%ers that make it, he said the odds are even go up higher that you won't be there past 3 years. That's the average major league career. I superseded that by 6 times in
yes,
16 years. So hard work goes a long way.
Absolutely, and I love that, and I can't wait. I have so many questions. You then went to, let's see, you were with the Oakland A's, the Texas Rangers, of course, the New York Yankees, and you were also. This was what one of your coaches said. They said you've been called the epitome of team player, and I love that because I always wonder what makes a good team player, because we're parents of 4 kids that are athletes. You're a parent, you want your kid to be a team player, right? What was it that made you a good team player for that coach to put that in Wikipedia?
Well, I thank the coach for making that comment. I never really worked on it. I think it just fell into place, just my hard work ethic. I knew the situation knowing the situation of the game. In my whole career, I was always a 1, 2, or 3 hitter. So having that, I knew I was going to have to be the guy to get on base. And if I was a guy, if somebody else was on base, my job was to get him over somehow. And, that just parlays into, being a good team member. I was what we call a flower pot. I was very quiet, hardly heard of, but I try to have my motto be seen, not heard. And I wanted people to see through me my hard work was what's going to do the talking versus, I'm not saying that the guys that lead by voice, there's no place for that,
Right.
but I led more by example, and I think that helped a lot as far as being a good teammate.
That is great advice. We do something called the quote of the day, because I love quotes, and you've already given us like 3 great ones today. So go ahead and pull one out and read it, and we'll see what that one means to you.
Oh,
Sorry if you can't read my writing. Which card did you get?
learn.
The Learn card. I love it. We are all learning today. What's the, there's the quote.
Oh.
The comfortable road will never lead you to the person you are destined to be in your life. Never. Ed Milet. What does that mean to you?
Wow. It just means what I've always hung my hat on, and you've got to be led. You can't let comfort. You can't let. I've never been a fan of mediocrity. To me, that's too commonplace. That's not excelling where you want to be. If you want to meet that person, stay where you're at, and you won't ever grow in that. That's the barriers we're talking about earlier about
Right.
about getting through. That's why that speaks to me.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite quote that you live by?
I believed a lot in Philippians 4:13, and I leaned on that quite a bit.
Happen to be wearing it right here.
Ah, look at you.
Love that. That is one of my favorites as well. Love that. Let's talk a little bit more about. I know you get asked probably a million questions about your time in Major League Baseball. What is the most important question that you think people, like just fans through the years, have asked you that you think really spreads the message that you want other people to know about that time?
God, good question. I'm often asked how much did I enjoy the game, and
That's
if there's anything I look back at and regret, because it was so commonplace back then. You didn't see the celebration that you do today. So being stern, and then again, going back to, I was that 25th and a half guy my first 5 years in the big league. So I was always that, if a transaction was going to happen, I was that guy getting sitting down. So it was very hard for me not to enjoy and be happy that, enjoying my career, because, that was always on the forefront was, are you going to, if something happens, most times than not, I was the one getting moved out. So I would say, looking back, I make sure you enjoy what you're doing.
So true. Do you have a game that stands out the most that you thought, you know what, that was my favorite, that was the best, I enjoyed that the most?
I wish it would have been a world championship. I remember that, that, not to knock it, obviously your first major league hit stands out, first major league home run.
Did you keep the ball?
I did.
Yeah, nice.
I did. It was old Tiger Stadium against Jack Morris,
Nice.
former Cy Young Award winner.
That had to have felt good.
Oh, my God. I wasn't a home run hitter, but, yeah, hitting homer off Nolan. A few years back, the Rockhounds always invite a guest speaker, and Nolan was speaking that day, and they ran off all his stats. He had 5,000 whatever strikeouts, and did you know that whole time he never struck me out once?
Nice. That had to feel good.
He's like, you didn't face me enough. You're right. But a funny story, kind of go off the subject on that, Krista. When we were at the old Texas Stadium, Mom and Dad gone up there, and I always played against lefties, and they threw. We had a 4-game series, 3 lefties didn't play. Well, Sunday night baseball's ESPN game, and Nolan's pitching, and I'm telling Mom, I said, Mom, you might as well go. I mean, Nolan's pitching. He's a right-hander. I know I'm not playing. Well, they leave. I go to the field, and I'm in the lineup.
Oh, no. They left.
And they had left.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, my gosh, facing the legend today. First time ever facing him. First time up, I got him 2-2 count. He throws a fastball right on the outside edge. Boom! And I even flinch. Going back to the dugout, I think it's strike 3, and he calls it a ball. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I got one more pitch. Next pitch, hit a home run.
Oh,
I got around those
awesome.
bases so fast, Chris. I did
Like,
not
you never
want him.
ran so fast.
I did not want him to even know who hit that.
Oh,
but Mom and
gosh.
Dad were so upset. They were,
They're like, thanks, Randy.
Yeah.
Thanks for sending me home.
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I want to talk a little bit to parents, because I know a lot of parents, they probably ask you this too, how can my kid be the best baseball player they can be, or maybe achieve what they, that you have achieved. So aspiring baseball players, what would you tell them? And has anyone taken your advice and gone on?
Well, I can't take that credit. I've talked to a lot of former Midlanders, the Nix brothers, and some of these guys that have made it up through Midland, and the great kids. Just again, our common denominator is the work ethic. And I would just tell kids, don't just be like me and just play straight baseball. Even though that's your love, you've got to venture off into other sports as well. You never know what your niche will be, and but above and all, it's success come. Anybody that's worth anything in their life will tell you it's come through hard work. You've got to set those boundaries. There's no other secret to it that I know of. If you do, let me know.
I know. Still trying to figure it out. But I just feel like a lot of parents, you want to do the best thing for your kids. Sure. I mean, we all do. We all want what's best for them. And I always feel like we've never told our kids, you have to go play the PGA Tour, because ours are golfers, but you get to play a sport that can pay for your education like it did for you. And you get to be in a team where you've got friends and camaraderie, and you've got others lifting you up and pouring into you, because I feel like that is so important for kids, is having that person that's pouring into you like a coach.
Right.
Because those people, believe it or not, kids don't want to just listen to mom and dad.
I know all too well about
yes.
that.
How many kids do you have?
We have 4.
4. Okay, so you're in the 4-kid boat like we are.
Yeah,
yes.
and my 2 boys, we argued all the time, and I asked former teammates, I said, do you guys do it? They're shaking their head. Absolutely. You know, we're just dad to them.
Right.
But you could go up to them and give them a hitting point, and they're going to sit there, yes, ma'am, and do it.
Right.
I'm
Other
like,
people are
you
going to
would
listen.
think I would have gave anything if my dad had the experience I had and would have taken the time, because Dad never had time for me. He was always working.
Right.
I had to learn all this on the fly, and I try to share that with the boys. I'm like, if I had a dad that had the experience, I've been there and done it at the highest level.
Yeah.
Why would you not want that?
Because you're dad.
Oh.
I know it's hard. It's a hard thing, but I think that's why it is so important to be on a team, because they listen to those other, other people. So what advice would you give to parents when talking to their kids about sports? Since you've been on both ends.
Be supportive, number one. Be careful. There's such a fine line in pushing your kid and pushing them too hard. Number one, they got to be passionate about what they're doing, because if your heart's not there, I don't care how much you push them. How many Tiger Woods are there out there?
Right.
You got to be. I've seen it go on the other end very quickly, where the parent is actually wanting it more than the kid, and they're investing so much, and that's where there's that fine line of keeping that balance of, you make sure the kid is enjoying what he's doing, because they can get burned out. We didn't have select ball when I played.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh gosh, today they're playing almost 360 days a year of that same sport, and I mean it's no secret why in tennis you see those players burned out by the time they're for sure not even 30.
Right. And do you think it's because of select ball? Like that was actually a question my husband had for you, who said, he wanted to know what you feel are the differences between, when you were growing up and now with all the club teams. Has it changed the game?
Yes. When I was a kid, there was no select ball. There was that big break, and I think there's an advantage in that, because you come back really hungry. You keep eating steak 364 days. I mean, how much are you going to desire that?
You're not.
You're not, right? So it's no different in
some
sports.
People might, but
so
I'm a vegetarian, so.
As parents, we got to be careful in how much we push. There's nothing wrong with push. I like the word guiding them along.
Yes.
Still have that little stern finger there, because they need that reassurance. Everything, we live in such I like to say, a microwave mentality, where we want everything so fast, and results don't happen that way. One of the toughest things that was toughest in my career, and anyone that's in baseball will understand this, Hall of Famers, Krista, have to be prepared to fail 70% of the time.
Wow.
No other profession allows that.
Yeah.
No other. I mean, if you can, and when I say accept, it's not so much accept, it's knowing how to maneuver yourself by that failure. Because 70%, think about that.
Yeah, those odds aren't. When you hear that stat, you're like, wow, that's a lot.
I got to succeed 30% and be one of the elite.
Right.
Oh, that was the toughest part at that level to overcome.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it is important to take a break because of the burnout that can happen. When did you know that you were done? Like that this was it? It was time to end your career as something that you loved to play.
As I said earlier, when I got to about 35, and my whole MO was work. I knew 5 o'clock I had to go run. At this time, the high school would go, because I worked out at the high schools, Lee and Middle High, and
I bet they love that.
Oh, it was a treat. It was a treat for me as well. Go out there and rub elbows with those guys. But I knew they came out at 3 o'clock, so I would try to show up like at 12 whenever Coach could be out there, and he'd be feeding the machine or hit me in the ground ball. I try to get all my groundwork done before the kids would come in. Then I would kind of mix in with them. So when I turned 35, Chris, I just again, that want to of being out there I could see was starting to really take its toll. And the joints kind of remind you a little bit too.
Yeah, no amount of Advil will help at some point.
Oh no, to make it to 40, oh my gosh, even my hair started hurting. People don't realize when you play a 7 o'clock game in the big leagues, we're there 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And by the time you unwind, This is why older guys hate day games, because it's so hard to bounce back from a night, because you really don't go to bed till 2 in the morning, and I'm an early sleeper.
Yeah.
And I was fighting to try to, because you get so much adrenaline going from the game that.
Right.
Yeah,
especially if you win too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because then
win
you're
or
even,
yeah, if you lose, oh my gosh, you chew on that all night.
And then you have to get up, like you said, if it's an early game. Yeah, that's a tough turnaround.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there are many times. Oakland, I felt like we were like the Chicago of the American League, the Cubs. We were always playing day games, and I remember one time I thought I was going through some kind of a slump. So we had a night game, and I'm hitting. The game's over, and I'm not satisfied with the way I'm hitting. I go in our batting cage, and we had one of those self-feed machines, and I'm hitting. Everybody had left, even the clubhouse crew left. It was about 2 in the morning. Next day, we have a day game. Well, I finished hitting after about 2 hours, and I came back about 7 in the morning because we had to be at the field at 9, I believe. And the guys that were coming in, they like, "Did you ever leave?" Be quiet. Close that door. I'm still working on this thing.
But that's the work ethic.
That's it.
That's what got you to that level.
Absolutely.
It's that never give up.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. Let's talk about some of the fun memories that you have of baseball, because I'm sure there's some stuff that happens in the dugout none of us know about. But do you have a favorite fun memory from that time?
A funny story off the top of my head was when I did the unassisted triple play. And it was like, when they YouTube that, bring that up. If you watch my reaction when I go back to the dugout, it looks like I'm not very happy. And you would think that's the first time in the history of New York.
Yeah,
that's the first time that's ever happened. Well, before that play even developed, they'd hit a routine ground ball for a double play, and I clanked it.
Uh-huh.
So I was not very happy about that. And then you fast forward to later in that at bat, first and second. This is why you don't run the runners with nobody out first and second. The triple play happens.
Yeah.
So I go back to by the time I got to the dugout, the people in the press box had beat me to the dugout.
Oh, wow.
They wanted, "Where's the ball?" And they wanted my glove on the spot. And I was like, "The ball's out there, and the glove you cannot have. I obviously need this. So after the game, I can give you that." And you know the inside story about the glove.
I don't. No. What's the inside story?
Well, Cooperstown thinks they have the glove.
Uh-huh.
I gave them my backup after I kept the glove, so it's in my trophy case.
But they think they had the glove.
They think they've got the glove.
Nope. And you should have it. You're the one that got the triple play.
My thinking exactly.
Yes. We're going to do question of the day now. This is just a fun question. I want everyone at home to think, how would they answer it? We have no idea what's on these cards because I wrote them a long time ago. You got the spirited.
Spirited.
All right. What's the question?
What daily habit do you do that has made a positive impact on your life?
Oh, good question. I can't wait to hear your answer.
Read my Bible verse every day. That obviously is a great way to start your day. Mm-hmm. Too many times we try to do it on our own, and we know how that all ends up. But I start in Scripture and go from there.
Love it. That's a great way to start your day.
Absolutely.
And, I know that's how we start our day, and it sets the tone for the day.
Absolutely.
It really does. So great. I love that that's your habit. Let's talk favorite things. So I like to hear people's favorite things. You were in some big cities, Oakland, Dallas, where else? New York. Why Midland? Tell us your favorite thing about Midland. Why did you and your wife decide to raise your family here?
Well, more me. My wife's still trying.
She's still trying to get you back to New York.
Yeah, she's from South Texas, but we were really close when we were with the Rangers living in South Lake. We actually leased a home there during the season, and we were real. But gosh,
that's a good place. South Lake's nice.
South Lake's nice, but that traffic, Krista.
Yeah.
Although Midland's starting to get there a little bit, but no.
If you're not from here, and we waited a stoplight like 2 or 3 times, we're like, the traffic. Nothing like big city, but you're right. If we're in a boom, you could be waiting there for 5 minutes, and you're like, come on.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Our impatience.
So why did you pick Midland?
I had no choice in the matter. I mean, like I said, I was born and raised here, didn't know any better. And just, it was my comfort.
Yeah.
And it helps a lot that you got your family still here.
Yes.
You're supporting that group and that good stuff.
Do you have a favorite restaurant here?
It used to be Tampico, and then they sold off, so I'm open for
You're
suggestions.
looking. There you go. If you own a restaurant, call Randy to say, hey, come give it a try.
Yeah.
He's looking for a new favorite. Do you have a favorite? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Like growing up, I was wondering if you had a baseball idol, because I've been picking up
that's
Alex
good.
from school every day, and we're listening to Lou Gehrig, and we're just mesmerized by the story.
His story. Talk about work ethic and hard work, same as yours. Yeah. Do you have an idol or a mentor favorite?
I was partial. And I was really blessed, man, during my career to have Larry Bow as my coach, but I asked him often about Pete Rose. And you talk about somebody that maximized everything he had in, because he was a small guy, but he said his work ethic, he made himself a baseball player. And so, yeah, I didn't really, I remember I didn't really watch baseball much when I was a kid.
You'd rather play it than watch it?
Yeah. Even though we might not have had the baseball season, we had a sandlot right down the road, and all the neighborhood kids would venture over there, and they wouldn't let me play, Krista.
They wouldn't?
No, they'd hit I'd joke with my brother and all my neighborhood buddies. Do you guys realize, you were the guy that had to go chase the foul ball that went in so-and-so's backyard. I'm like, yeah.
Was it because you were so good they didn't want you
I
playing?
was too little.
Oh,
yeah.
you were so little. They were like,
little.
oh, he can't do it.
Yeah. And look who turned out.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that story. Do you have a favorite baseball movie? Because, we love Field of Dreams. I mean, there's so many that you could really, go to. Do you have a favorite baseball movie?
God, there's so many out there. Bull Durham's a great comedy one. Of course, the movie that they made about us and the 20 consecutive games is pretty good, too. But as far as favorite, Pride of the Yankees would probably be up there.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. How about favorite book?
The Bible.
Good one. That's the best. That is the best.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Favorite ballpark?
Yankee Stadium.
Hey, Yankee
Even though they
Stadium.
tore mine down, I've yet to go back to see the new one. But the old one was special. When you walk the same halls that Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, that's special.
I bet. I can't even imagine, especially as a baseball player. I just cannot imagine how you feel when you walk in and see the history. Yeah. Let's talk about your legacy, because when you look back on your career, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want people to remember about you and how you loved your sport?
Just that I maximize everything in my heart about what I truly loved and what my contribution to society was. And that's, if you're passionate about something, go for it all the way. Don't go in it halfway full or whatnot. There's going to be enough naysayers out there that can, stiff arm that, learn from it. I'm not saying totally neglect that, but learn from that and just live life to the fullest.
Good advice. Good advice. We, at the end of our show, always ask our guests for their favorite nonprofit organization, and I'm sure you have one that you love here in West Texas. Which one would you like us to make a donation on your behalf, and that we can give them a shout out today?
Casa de Amigos, right down the road.
Fantastic. We will definitely. I love that. We'll give a donation to Casa de Amigos. And have you done a lot for them through fundraising through the years? And
Way back when, I haven't ever was late. Now that's bad on me, but yeah, it was way back when I played.
yeah, what a great organization. So if you can support them, please pardon my alarms. I set alarms all the time so I don't forget a child somewhere or to go to work or to do this or do that. So I apologize for my alarm going off again. I think this has happened the last 3 podcasts. But I just cannot tell you how much I've enjoyed hearing your story today. Is there anything coming into it you were like, I hope that we get this out that maybe we didn't get to talk about yet, or that you would love to shed light on your story and that you think it could help someone else live their best life?
I think you've covered it all.
We did.
You
We covered a
You
lot.
did
It was
great
fun.
job.
Did y'all cover Lubbock Christian?
We did. We did talk about Lubbock Christian, and I'm sure you're saying that because the president of Lubbock Christian just walked in. He's our next podcast. Yay! I can't wait to hear his story too. But yeah, any final thoughts on LCU since he's sitting here now?
LCU in the house.
Go Chaps!
All right.
Yeah, I know you have had an amazing career. I cannot thank you enough for all the little nuggets that you gave us throughout the day and the stories that you shared. If you ever want to come back, we can always do a part 2. And if there's something else you want to talk about later on down the road, let us know. We are just happy that you have chosen West Texas and Midland as your home. And you are so giving back to this community as the community gave to you. So thank you very much for sharing today. We appreciate you.
You bet. Thank you for having me.
All right. We want to thank all of our sponsors, Rig ID Workwear, Midland Cap Company, and of course, joincapclub.com. And hey, if you're watching us on YouTube, there's this little button right below that says subscribe. Do you mind pushing it right now? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's push it together. There you go. Subscribe, share it with someone you love. We want to get these stories out to as many people as possible because we can all learn from each other's stories. And that's what life's about, is helping others. And we appreciate you doing that and sharing our show, the Krista Escamilla Show, with someone you love. Again, we want to thank Randy Velarde for sharing his time today and his stories. Truly amazing. And we just are very thankful that we get to have this platform to share amazing stories like Randy. So thank you very much. Remember my mottos: dream big, believe in yourself, and never give up. Thanks for joining us. You make it a great day.